General Patricia Young coordinated the final assault on the Zephyrian fleet from a command center that had been built inside a converted sports stadium. The facility buzzed with activity as thousands of personnel managed what had become the largest military operation in human history. Display screens showed the positions of ships throughout the solar system, while communication networks carried orders to forces scattered across Earth and space. The battle plan combined every advantage humanity had gained during the week-long conflict. Ground-based weapons would provide covering fire for the space fleet, while infiltration teams already aboard alien ships would sabotage critical systems at precisely coordinated moments. The assault would demonstrate to the galaxy that humanity had evolved from a defensive force into a military power capable of projecting strength across interstellar distances. Fleet Admiral Greg Thompson commanded the space-based portion of the assault from his flagship, a massive vessel that had been assembled from components of 6 different civilian ships. The hybrid warship represented everything humans had learned about combining their own engineering principles with alien technology. It was faster than any Zephyrian vessel, more heavily armed than most alien battleships, and crewed by personnel who had learned to operate systems that had seemed impossible just days earlier. Greg's fleet included ships from every nation on Earth, crewed by volunteers who had abandoned their civilian lives to join humanity's fight for survival. Former merchant sailors operated alien weapon systems alongside retired military officers and civilian engineers who had become expert tacticians through necessity. The diversity of the human fleet was both its greatest strength and its most confusing aspect for alien observers. Tactical analyst Linda Clark had completed her comprehensive study of Zephyrian military capabilities, and the results were both encouraging and terrifying. The aliens were technologically superior to humans in most areas, but they were also incredibly predictable. Every alien ship class had identical capabilities. Every commander followed the same tactical manual, and every response to human actions could be anticipated with mathematical precision. Linda's analysis had revealed the ultimate weakness in Zephyrian military thinking. They had never fought an enemy capable of rapid adaptation. Their entire strategic philosophy was based on overwhelming opponents with superior technology and firepower. When faced with an enemy that could learn and evolve faster than they could adjust their tactics, the aliens became increasingly ineffective. With each engagement, the final assault began with simultaneous attacks on alien positions throughout the solar system. Human ships emerged from behind planets, asteroid fields, and even the sun itself to strike at Zephyrian vessels that had thought themselves safely positioned. The coordination required for such an operation should have been impossible for a species that had only recently achieved spaceflight, but humanity had accomplished it through pure determination and innovative thinking. Commander Vextalon realized that his fleet was doomed when reports began arriving from all sectors simultaneously. Human forces were attacking everywhere at once, using tactics that violated every principle of conventional warfare. Ships appeared from impossible directions, weapons fired from concealed positions, and infiltration teams struck from within alien vessels that should have been completely secure. The most shocking aspect of the human assault was its precision. Despite their apparent chaos, human actions were perfectly coordinated to maximize damage while minimizing their own casualties. They had learned to fight like a single organism with thousands of individual components, each one capable of independent action but all working toward the same strategic goal. Dr. Helen Price established communication with surviving Zephyrian commanders from her position aboard a diplomatic vessel that stayed carefully distant from the main battle. Her mission was to offer surrender terms that would end the conflict with minimal additional bloodshed. What she discovered was that most alien officers were eager to accept any reasonable proposal that would allow them to survive the encounter with humanity. The Zephyrians had never experienced military defeat on such a scale. Their empire had been built on the assumption that technological superiority would always guarantee victory. But humans had proven that assumption catastrophically wrong. Individual alien commanders were beginning to understand that continued resistance would only result in the complete destruction of their fleet and the end of their empire's expansion. Ambassador John Tyler worked alongside Dr. Price to establish formal surrender protocols that would be acceptable to both species. The negotiations revealed something remarkable about human psychology. Despite their devastating military victory, they were genuinely interested in peaceful coexistence with the aliens. The ferocity they had displayed in combat transformed into diplomatic pragmatism once the immediate threat was eliminated. The formal surrender ceremony took place aboard Admiral Thompson's flagship, with representatives from every major human nation present to witness the end of the invasion. Commander Vextalon signed the surrender documents with hands that shook from exhaustion and defeat. He had begun the invasion expecting to add another conquered world to the Zephyrian Empire, but instead he was formally acknowledging humanity. As a galactic power, Lieutenant Colonel Ashley Ward established the Human Galactic Defense Force in the weeks following the alien surrender. The new organization combined military personnel from every nation on Earth with civilian experts who had proven their abilities during the crisis. Ashley's mandate was simple: ensure that no alien species would ever again make the mistake of underestimating humanity's capacity for warfare and adaptation. The Defense Force inherited a fleet of hybrid, human-alien vessels that were superior to anything else in the galaxy. More importantly, they inherited the knowledge and experience gained during humanity's first interstellar conflict. Earth had transformed from an isolated world into a military power capable of defending itself against any threat and projecting force across the galaxy if necessary. News of the Zephyrian defeat spread throughout the galaxy faster than anyone had expected. Other alien species that had been conquered by the Empire began planning their own rebellions inspired by humanity's example. The psychological impact of seeing the supposedly invincible Zephyrians defeated by a species that had barely achieved spaceflight was revolutionary for civilizations that had accepted subjugation as inevitable. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the rebuilt Earth Defense Force headquarters, looking up at a night sky that now contained human ships traveling between the stars. The invasion that had threatened to destroy humanity had instead launched them into a galactic community as equals rather than victims. The experience had proven that humans possessed something more valuable than advanced technology: the ability to adapt, learn, and overcome any challenge through determination and creativity. The final reports from the conflict painted a picture that would influence galactic politics for generations to come. Humanity had not simply defeated the Zephyrian invasion. They had demonstrated capabilities that made them the most dangerous and unpredictable species in known space. Other civilizations would approach Earth with respect rather than contempt, understanding that humans could transform any crisis into an opportunity for growth and advancement. In the months that followed, human exploration ships began visiting other star systems, carrying both the technology and the indomitable spirit that had turned Earth's darkest hour into the foundation of a human galactic presence. The species that had once been considered primitive by galactic standards was now recognized as a force that could reshape the balance of power among the stars, ensuring that the galaxy would never again underestimate the potential of humanity. Admiral Rachel Turner stood on the bridge of what had once been a civilian cargo ship, now transformed into a warship that would have impressed military designers on any world in the galaxy. The conversion had taken only 5 days, accomplished by teams of human engineers working with salvaged alien technology and pure determination. Around her, dozens of similar vessels prepared for humanity's first offensive operation against the Zephyrian fleet. The ships looked nothing like traditional military vessels. Converted cruise ships carried missile batteries salvaged from alien wreckage. Modified oil tankers housed particle beam weapons reverse-engineered from captured technology. Even luxury yachts had been fitted with shield generators and plasma cannons, creating a fleet that was as diverse as it was deadly. Rachel's tactical display showed the positions of every Zephyrian ship in Earth's solar system. The aliens had retreated to what they believed was a safe distance from Earth's defenses, but human intelligence had been tracking their movements for days. The time had come to show the Zephyrians that humanity was no longer content to simply defend their homeworld. Special Forces operative Captain Steve Martinez floated in the maintenance shaft of a Zephyrian battleship, moving with the silence of a predator stalking its prey. His mission was simple in concept but terrifying in execution: disable the ship's main weapon systems from the inside while human forces attacked from outside. The combination of internal sabotage and external assault would maximize damage while minimizing human casualties. Steve had learned something disturbing about Zephyrian psychology during his infiltration missions. The aliens were not naturally aggressive warriors like humans assumed. They were methodical conquerors who relied on overwhelming technological superiority to force surrender without actual fighting. When faced with determined resistance, individual Zephyrians often became confused and ineffective. The aliens were discovering that close-quarters combat was a human specialty that their training had never prepared them for. Zephyrian soldiers were larger and stronger than humans, but they fought according to rigid protocols that became useless in chaotic hand-to-hand battles. Human soldiers, trained to adapt and improvise, consistently defeated alien opponents even when outnumbered. Dr. Lavra Jackson activated the quantum communication jammers from her control center deep beneath the Colorado mountains. The jamming field expanded outward from Earth like an invisible bubble, severing the connections between alien ships and their command structure. Within minutes, the coordinated Zephyrian fleet became a collection of isolated vessels, each forced to make decisions without guidance from their commanders. The effect on alien morale was immediate and devastating. Zephyrian military doctrine assumed that superior commanders would always be available to provide tactical guidance. When communication links failed, individual ship captains found themselves making decisions they were not trained to handle. Many began retreating toward the outer edges of the solar system, hoping to reestablish contact with their fleet pilot. Commander Tony Garcia led the first wave of human fighters toward the alien fleet. His squadron consisted entirely of captured Zephyrian ships modified with human improvements. The irony was not lost on Tony that humanity's most effective weapons against the aliens were the aliens' own technology, enhanced by human engineering and human tactics. The modified alien fighters were faster and more maneuverable than the originals, but their most important advantage was psychological. Zephyrian sensors could not distinguish between genuine alien fighters and human-operated copies. This allowed Tony's squadron to approach within close range before revealing their true nature by opening fire with weapons that should not have been possible. Engineering Chief Carol Brooks watched her masterpiece come to life as the first human-built faster-than-light drive activated successfully. The experimental ship disappeared from Earth's solar system and reappeared behind the alien fleet in less than 60 seconds. The Zephyrians had assumed that escape routes would always be available, but human technology now allowed Earth's forces to appear anywhere in the solar system without warning. The strategic implications were staggering. Human ships could now attack alien vessels from unexpected directions, retreat when outnumbered, and return with reinforcements faster than the aliens could respond. The mobility advantage that had allowed the Zephyrian Empire to conquer other worlds now belonged to humanity. Lieutenant Colonel Ashley Ward coordinated the multi-pronged assault from her command post aboard Admiral Turner's flagship. The attack combined conventional military tactics with innovations that only humans could have conceived. While some ships engaged alien vessels directly, others used hit-and-run tactics that kept the enemy off balance and unable to mount effective counterattacks. Ashley's strategy took advantage of human psychological insights about Zephyrian behavior. The aliens expected battles to follow predictable patterns, with clear phases and logical progression from initial contact to final victory or defeat. Human tactics deliberately violated these expectations, creating chaos that alien commanders could not understand or counter effectively. The space battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships used asteroid fields as cover, emerged from behind planets to launch surprise attacks, and coordinated their movements using communication methods that aliens could not intercept or jam. What appeared to be random human actions was actually a carefully orchestrated campaign designed to exploit every weakness in Zephyrian military thinking. Commander Vextalon watched his fleet disintegrate with a mixture of horror and fascination. Individual ships were falling to human attacks. That should have been impossible. Worse yet, the humans seemed to be learning from each engagement, adapting their tactics in real time to counter any defensive measures the Zephyrians attempted. The most disturbing aspect of the human assault was its relentlessness. Zephyrian military doctrine included provisions for temporary retreat and regrouping, but the humans pursued defeated ships with a determination that bordered on madness. They seemed incapable of accepting anything less than total victory, fighting with an intensity that overwhelmed even experienced Zephyrian veterans. Tactical analyst Linda Clark studied the battle data from her position aboard a converted passenger liner that now served as humanity's mobile command center. Every alien ship movement, every weapon discharge, and every tactical decision was recorded and analyzed by computers that learned from each data point. The artificial intelligence systems were building a comprehensive understanding of Zephyrian military capabilities and limitations. Linda's analysis revealed patterns that human commanders could exploit in future engagements. Alien ships had standardized response times, predictable formation preferences, and consistent weapon cycling intervals. This information was transmitted to human vessels in real time, allowing them to anticipate alien actions and position themselves for maximum advantage. The final phase of the battle began when human ships equipped with Carol Brooks improved. Faster-than-light drive surrounded the remaining alien vessels. The Zephyrians found themselves trapped in a sphere of human ships that could appear and disappear at will, striking from all directions before vanishing into the void of space. Vextalon realized that his empire had made the greatest military miscalculation in galactic history. The humans were not just defending their world. They were demonstrating capabilities that made them the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever produced. If they survived this conflict, they would inevitably become a threat to every other civilization among the stars. Dr. Amanda Foster stared at the alien device on her laboratory table with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Her team had spent 72 hours analyzing captured Zephyrian technology, and what they discovered changed everything humanity thought they knew about the aliens. The technology that had taken the Zephyrian centuries to develop was not only understandable to human scientists, but could be improved using principles the aliens had never considered. The breakthrough came when Amanda realized that Zephyrian engineering followed extremely rigid patterns. Their scientists had perfected specific techniques and then stopped innovating. Every alien ship used identical power systems, identical weapons, and identical defensive measures. This standardization made their fleet efficient, but it also made them predictable. Factory worker Danny Murphy had become something he never expected, a weapons designer. The alien plasma rifle he held was powerful but inefficient, wasting enormous amounts of energy with each shot. Danny's team had figured out how to increase the weapon's power output by 30%, while reducing its weight and improving its cooling system. They accomplished this by replacing alien components with modified human electronics that were smaller and more flexible, the hybrid weapons rolling off human production lines were superior to the original alien designs in almost every way. Human manufacturing techniques allowed for rapid customization and improvement, while alien technology was locked into unchangeable patterns. What had taken the Zephyrians decades to perfect, human engineers improved in a matter of days. Navy SEAL Commander Chris Taylor moved through the corridors of the alien command ship like a ghost in the darkness. His team had successfully infiltrated the massive vessel using captured alien shuttles, and now they were learning that Zephyrian security was designed to keep external threats out, not to deal with enemies already inside their ships. The aliens had never encountered a species capable of boarding their vessels, so their internal defenses were minimal. Chris and his men moved through sections of the ship that contained no guards, no security cameras, and no alarm systems. The Zephyrians were so confident in their technological superiority that they had never considered the possibility of direct Assault by boarding parties. Chris reached the ship's main computer core and began installing devices, prepared by Dr. Paul Mitchell's team. The virus-like programs were designed to spread through the alien computer network, gathering intelligence and creating backdoors for future human infiltration. More importantly, they would begin feeding false information to alien commanders, making their already confused tactical situation even worse. Dr. Kevin Roberts watched data flowing through the global defense network with satisfaction that bordered on awe. Every internet-connected device on Earth had become part of humanity's war machine. Smartphones tracked alien movements, gaming consoles calculated targeting solutions, and social media networks carried encrypted military communications faster than any government system ever built. The network was learning from every engagement, building a database of alien tactics and weaknesses that grew more comprehensive with each battle. What made the system truly revolutionary was its distributed nature. The aliens could destroy individual components, but they could never eliminate the network entirely because it existed everywhere humans had technology. Captain Jennifer Mills climbed into the cockpit of a captured alien fighter with confidence that surprised even her. She had been flying human aircraft for 15 years, but alien controls had seemed impossibly complex just days ago. Now she understood that the complexity was largely artificial. Alien interfaces were designed to prevent unauthorized use, not to improve functionality. Human engineers had simplified the alien controls by removing unnecessary security systems and replacing complex displays with straightforward human indicators. The modified alien fighters were faster and more maneuverable than the originals, and they could be flown by any pilot familiar with basic human aircraft. More importantly, they were armed with hybrid weapons that combined alien energy systems with human targeting computers. Special Forces operative Captain Steve Martinez led his team through the ventilation systems of an alien ground installation. The Zephyrians had built their base according to standardized plans that assumed all threats would come from outside the perimeter. Like their ships, alien ground facilities had excellent external defenses but minimal internal security. Steve's mission was to capture alien officers for interrogation, but what he found was even more valuable. The alien command center contained detailed tactical plans for the entire invasion, including the locations of every Zephyrian ship and ground unit. The aliens had never considered the possibility that humans might infiltrate their most secure facilities, so they had taken no precautions to protect sensitive information. The intelligence gathered from alien facilities revealed something that changed human strategy completely. The Zephyrian Empire was not as large or as powerful as their initial broadcasts had suggested. Their fleet represented the majority of their available military forces, and they had committed almost everything to the Earth invasion because they expected it to be quick and easy. Dr. Lavra Jackson's team developed quantum communication jammers that turned the aliens' own technology against them. Zephyrian ships relied on instantaneous communication across vast distances, but human jammers could disrupt these signals by generating interference patterns that confused alien receivers. Without reliable communication, the alien fleet became a collection of individual ships rather than a coordinated military force. The effects of the communication disruption were immediate and devastating to alien operations. Ships that had been working together began operating independently, often interfering with each other's missions. Tactical coordination that had been the foundation of Zephyrian military doctrine collapsed as commanders lost contact with their subordinates. Pilot Commander Tony Garcia led a squadron of modified human fighters through an asteroid field where several alien ships had taken shelter. The asteroids provided cover from long-range sensors, but they also created a maze where superior numbers meant nothing. Human pilots, trained to fly in all kinds of difficult conditions, proved far more adaptable to the chaotic environment than aliens who relied on computer navigation systems. Tony's fighters used the asteroids as weapons, using precisely calculated explosions to send chunks of rock hurtling toward alien ships at devastating velocities. The aliens had shields designed to stop energy weapons and guided missiles. But they were not prepared for attacks using the environment itself as ammunition. Engineering. Chief Carol Brooks made a discovery that terrified Vextalon more than any human weapon. Her team had successfully reverse-engineered alien faster-than-light drive systems and improved them using human engineering principles. Not only could humans now travel between stars, but they could do it faster and more efficiently than the Zephyrians themselves. Carol's modified drives required less energy, produced more speed, and could be manufactured using materials available on Earth. Human ships equipped with these drives could outrun any alien vessel, meaning that even if the invasion succeeded, humanity could escape to other star systems and continue the fight indefinitely. Commander Vextalon realized that his empire had not just awakened a sleeping enemy. They had awakened a species that could learn and adapt faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The humans were not just surviving the invasion. They were becoming more dangerous with each passing day. Soon they would be capable of taking the fight directly to Zephyrian worlds, armed with technology superior to anything the Empire possessed. The third day of the invasion brought something that Vextalon had never experienced in his long military career: uncertainty. His forces controlled barely 10% of the planet's surface, and even those areas were under constant attack from human guerrilla forces. Worse yet, the humans were doing something that should have been impossible. They were learning to use Zephyrian technology almost as fast as they could capture it. Air Force Major Kate Williams stood in a hangar filled with damaged alien fighter craft. Human engineers crawled over the wreckage like ants, pulling apart alien systems and rebuilding them with human components. What amazed Kate was how quickly her own people adapted to technology that was thousands of years more advanced than anything Earth had ever produced. Dr. Paul Mitchell led a team of computer experts who had discovered something remarkable about alien technology. The Zephyrian systems were incredibly advanced, but also incredibly standardized. Every ship used the same basic computer architecture, the same communication protocols, and the same security systems. This uniformity, designed to make their fleet more efficient, had become their greatest weakness. Paul's fingers moved across multiple keyboards as he broke through layer after layer of alien encryption. The Zephyrians had never encountered a species that could match their computing power using completely different technological approaches. Human computers were crude compared to alien systems, but they were also chaotic and unpredictable in ways that confused Zephyrian security programs. Communications. Officer Lisa Barnes intercepted a burst transmission between two alien command ships. The message was encrypted, but Paul's team had already broken the basic Zephyrian codes. What she heard made her smile for the first time since the invasion began. The aliens were asking for reinforcements and admitting that human resistance was far stronger than expected. Lisa began composing her own message using captured alien communication equipment. She sent false orders to Zephyrian patrol groups, directing them into carefully prepared ambush zones where human forces waited with captured alien weapons. The confusion spread through the alien fleet as commanders received contradictory orders from sources they believed to be legitimate. Sergeant First Class Mike Johnson led a squad of soldiers through the ruins of downtown Detroit. They moved carefully between collapsed buildings, carrying weapons that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. The alien plasma rifles were much more powerful than human guns, but they were also much heavier and had a tendency to overheat after sustained use. Mike's squad had learned to modify the alien weapons by trial and error. They removed unnecessary components to reduce weight and added human cooling systems to prevent overheating. The result was a hybrid weapon that combined alien firepower with human practicality. More importantly, they had figured out how to manufacture ammunition for the alien guns using materials salvaged from damaged human vehicles. The Zephyrian ground forces were discovering that urban combat was very different from the space battles they were trained for. Their massive war machines were designed to fight on open battlefields, not in narrow city streets filled with debris and hidden threats. Human soldiers could disappear into buildings and subway tunnels, emerging anywhere to launch surprise attacks. Before vanishing again, Commander Vextalon watched his tactical displays with growing alarm. Red markers indicated positions where his forces had been destroyed or forced to retreat. The pattern made no sense according to standard military theory. The humans were simultaneously conducting defensive operations, guerrilla warfare, and technological adaptation on a scale that should have required separate specialized armies. Dr. Amanda Foster's laboratory had become the center of humanity's technological revolution. Her team worked with salvaged alien components, trying to understand principles of physics that were completely new to human science. What they discovered was that alien technology was not as different from human technology as it first appeared. The Zephyrians had simply taken familiar concepts much further than humans had imagined possible. Amanda held a piece of alien armor that weighed almost nothing but could stop bullets and energy beams. The material was a crystalline structure that human manufacturing techniques could not duplicate, but human chemistry could modify. By coating human armor with thin layers of alien crystal, they created protection that was nearly as effective as the original. Navy SEAL Commander Chris Taylor prepared for the most dangerous mission of his career. Intelligence reports suggested that the alien command ship had weak points near its docking bays where smaller craft entered and left the main vessel. Chris and his team would use captured alien shuttles to approach the command ship, board it, and cause as much damage as possible from the inside. The mission required them to operate alien spacecraft that they barely understood, infiltrate a ship filled with hostile aliens, and sabotage critical systems without getting caught. Any reasonable person would have called it suicide, but Chris had stopped thinking about reasonable expectations 3 days ago. When impossible alien ships appeared in Earth's sky, Dr. Kevin Roberts unveiled humanity's most ambitious project in a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The global defense network connected every computer on Earth into a single massive processing system. Smartphones, laptops, gaming consoles, and industrial control systems all contributed their computing power to a distributed intelligence that could process information faster than any alien computer. The network tracked every alien ship, predicted their movement patterns, and coordinated human responses across the entire planet. What had begun as isolated defensive actions was becoming a coordinated global resistance that adapted to alien tactics faster than the aliens could change them. Social media networks carried military communications, civilian scientists shared technical discoveries in real time, and ordinary people became part of Earth's defense simply by connecting to the internet. Teacher Mary Hughes sat in her classroom, now converted into a communications hub for the local resistance. Her students had evacuated days ago, but Mary remained to coordinate supply deliveries to human forces fighting throughout the city. She used her knowledge of local geography to guide strike teams through safe routes and helped plan ambushes. In locations where alien sensors would be blocked by buildings or terrain, mechanic Frank Williams worked in his garage, which had become an impromptu weapons factory. He and his team were converting civilian vehicles into mobile weapons platforms using components salvaged from alien wreckage. Farm tractors became armored personnel carriers, delivery trucks became missile launchers, and sports cars became high-speed reconnaissance vehicles. The transformation happening across Earth was something Vextalon had never seen before. An entire species was adapting to warfare in real time, turning every citizen into a potential soldier and every building into a potential fortress. The humans were not just fighting back. They were evolving into something more dangerous with each passing hour. The first alien attack ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. Vextalon watched from his command ship as 3 separate assault groups moved toward the largest human cities. New York, London, and Tokyo had been selected as primary targets because their destruction would break human morale instantly. At least that was how it had worked on every other world the Zephyrians had conquered. The massive alien craft cast shadows over Manhattan as they took position. Above the city, citizens fled through the streets while emergency sirens wailed from every direction. But not everyone was running away from the danger. Marine Colonel Rick Davis gathered his men in Central Park, checking weapons and ammunition supplies that seemed laughably small compared to the alien ships overhead. Rick had fought in 3 wars, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The alien ships were so large that they blocked out the sun, turning day into an eerie twilight. His radio crackled with reports from other units scattered throughout the city. Every soldier knew they were probably going to die, but they were going to make the aliens work for their victory. The first plasma bolts struck the tops of skyscrapers, turning steel and concrete into glowing slag that poured down into the streets below. The aliens expected humans to scatter in terror, but something unexpected happened instead. Small groups of soldiers began firing back with shoulder-mounted rockets and heavy machine guns. The projectiles bounced harmlessly off the alien shields. But they kept firing anyway. Vextalon studied the tactical displays with growing confusion. The human resistance was more organized than his intelligence reports had suggested. Instead of panicking, they seemed to be following some kind of coordinated defense plan. More disturbing was their complete lack of fear. These creatures were actually attacking his ships with primitive weapons that could not possibly harm them. In Switzerland, Dr. Sarah Kim stood before the largest particle accelerator ever built by human hands. The machine had been designed to unlock the secrets of the universe, but today it would serve a very different purpose. Her team had worked for 18 hours straight to modify the accelerator into a weapon system. Theoretical calculations suggested it might be able to penetrate alien shields, but they would only get one chance to find out. The particle beam fired at nearly the speed of light, invisible to the naked eye but carrying enough energy to power a small city. It struck the nearest alien ship's shields and passed through them like they were made of paper. The beam punched completely through the ship's hull, causing massive internal explosions that lit up the sky over Geneva. Vextalon Esbridge shook as emergency alarms blared throughout his flagship. One of his heavy cruisers had just been destroyed by a weapon that should not exist on this primitive planet. The energy signature was unlike anything in the Zephyrian database of known technologies. How could these humans have developed such advanced particle physics while still using chemical rockets for space travel? Lieutenant Commander Ben Parker stood on the bridge of a nuclear submarine hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean. His orders were simple but terrifying. Get as close as possible to the alien fleet and launch everything they had. The submarine's missiles were armed with humanity's most powerful nuclear warheads, each one capable of destroying an entire city. The missiles broke the surface of the ocean and streaked upward toward the alien ships. Vextalon S forces detected the launch immediately and activated their defensive systems. Energy beams reached down from orbit to intercept the incoming weapons, but the humans had anticipated this response. The missiles split apart in mid-flight, releasing dozens of smaller warheads that scattered across the sky in unpredictable patterns. Several nuclear explosions bloomed against alien shield generators, overloading the protective systems through sheer brute force. Without their shields, the alien ships became vulnerable to conventional weapons. Fighter jets that had been hiding in mountain caves emerged to attack the now defenseless craft with armor-piercing missiles. Chief Engineer Elena Rodriguez worked frantically in the control room of a defense satellite network that officially did not exist. These orbital weapons platforms had been disguised as communication relays for 20 years, waiting for a threat that most people hoped would never come. Now Elena's fingers flew across the controls as she targeted alien fighters with laser weapons that fired faster than human reflexes could follow. The alien pilots found themselves being picked off one by weapons they could not see coming. Their own sensors showed only civilian satellites, but death was striking from empty space with mechanical precision. The human orbital defense grid was adapting to alien tactics in real time, learning from each engagement and becoming more effective. With every shot, Vextalon ordered his ground forces to abandon their landing zones and return to orbit immediately. The situation was deteriorating far faster than any of his combat models had predicted. These humans were not fighting according to any recognizable military doctrine. They used every available resource as a weapon, from modified civilian aircraft to hastily converted industrial equipment. Air Force Major Kate Williams led a squadron of modified fighter jets through the smoke and debris filling the sky over London. Her aircraft had been fitted with experimental weapons designed by teams of engineers working around the clock since the aliens first appeared. The new systems were untested and dangerous, but they were also humanity's best hope for survival. Kate's targeting computer locked onto an alien fighter that was strafing a hospital. She fired a salvo of rockets equipped with adaptive guidance systems that adjusted their flight paths to follow the enemy craft through complex evasive maneuvers. The alien pilot was skilled, but human ingenuity had created weapons that could think and learn during flight. As the battle raged across 3 continents, Vextalon began to realize that his empire had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not the primitive beings described in his intelligence reports. They fought with a creativity and determination that bordered on madness, turning every disadvantage into an opportunity for counterattack. The invasion that should have been completed in hours was stretching into its second day, with Zephyrian casualties mounting steadily. The darkness of space lit up with massive shapes moving between the stars. Commander Vextalon stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his screens. His clawed hands moved across the control panel as he studied the data about this new world. The planet looked peaceful from space, with white clouds covering most of its surface and large blue oceans between brown and green landmasses. Vextalon had conquered 17 star systems for the Zephyrian Empire. Each time the process was the same. His fleet would arrive, demand surrender, and the local species would submit within days. Most civilizations were smart enough to recognize superior technology when they saw it. The few that resisted were quickly crushed by weapons that could turn entire cities to glass in seconds. This planet called Earth should be no different. His intelligence reports showed that the inhabitants had barely reached their own moon. They used primitive chemical rockets and had only basic computers. Their weapons were crude explosives and metal projectiles against Zephyrian plasma cannons and energy shields. Such tools were nothing more than toys. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the Earth Defense Force Command Center, staring at the displays that showed impossible readings. The objects approaching Earth were each the size of small moons, moving at speeds that defied everything humans understood about physics. His coffee had gone cold hours ago as more and more contacts appeared on the long-range sensors. Jake picked up his secure phone and dialed the emergency number. The voice that answered belonged to President Lisa Carter, who had been awake for 3 straight days since the first detection signals came in. Her voice was tired but steady as she listened to Jake's report about the approaching fleet. Within an hour, the Situation Room at the White House filled with military leaders. General Tom Bradley spread tactical maps across the table while Admiral Susan Walsh reviewed naval positions around the globe. The numbers looked grim. Earth had a few hundred fighter jets, some orbital defense platforms, and nuclear weapons that might not even reach the alien ships. Dr. Alex Chun entered the room, carrying a thick folder marked with red security stamps. He had been hoping never to open these files, but the situation demanded desperate measures. Inside were details about experimental weapons projects that had been in development for decades. Most were theoretical, some were barely tested, and all of them were humanity's last hope. The alien fleet settled into orbit around Earth like a ring of death. Vextalon opened communication channels and broadcast his message in dozens of Earth languages. His words were simple and direct. The humans had 1 day to surrender unconditionally or face complete destruction. It was the same message he had sent to every world the Zephyrian Empire had conquered. In cities across Earth, people looked up at the night sky and saw new stars that had not been there before. The alien ships were so massive that they blocked out familiar constellations. Emergency broadcasts filled every television and radio channel as governments struggled to maintain order. Some people panicked and fled to the countryside. Others gathered in churches and mosques to pray. Many simply stood in the streets, staring upward at their new reality. Jake Morrison worked through the night, coordinating with defense forces around the planet. The plan was simple because it had to be. Earth's scattered military units would make the aliens pay for every mile of ground, every city, every life. If humanity was going to die, they would die fighting, Dr. Alex Chun's team raced against time to activate weapon systems that had never been fully tested. Deep beneath CERN in Switzerland, massive particle accelerators hummed to life with new purpose. In hidden bunkers across North America, railguns that could fire projectiles at incredible speeds began their power-up sequences, orbital defense. Platforms that had been disguised as communication satellites revealed their true nature. President Lisa Carter addressed the world from the Oval Office. Her speech was broadcast in every language on Earth. She told humanity that they faced extinction, but they would not face it on their knees. Every human being, from soldiers to scientists to ordinary citizens, would play a part in Earth's defense. The message was simple. If the aliens wanted Earth, they would have to take it from humanity's cold, dead hands. As the deadline approached, Vextalon prepared his fleet for what he expected to be a brief and decisive battle. His massive ships powered their weapons and moved into attack formation. The planetary bombardment would begin with major population centers, then systematically destroy all resistance. He had performed this operation so many times that it had become routine, but something felt different about this planet. The electromagnetic signatures from Earth showed unusual activity. The humans were not cowering in their shelters as expected. Instead, they seemed to be preparing for war with an intensity that surprised even Vextalon's experienced military. The countdown reached 0, and the first phase of the attack began.